And we're live. Good evening, One Institution family. This is a bonus episode of Candid Conversation with Dr. Keenan Davis and Sean Llewellyn. I guess, your host, Jason Warner. And one of the things that we wanted to do tonight is kind of bring into the fold 4,000 plus of you in this community. And why one institution? Why did you spend your time and say, I want to be engaged with this group, with these people? So no other than the folks that were kind of the brainchild of putting one institution together. Let's bring us all to the table, talk about why one institution and what we're going to do as we move forward. So I'm going to go to you first, Sean. Introduce yourself and then talk to the folks about why one institution.
Cool. Well, everyone, my name is Sean Llewellyn, hail from New York. I think for me, the reason why one institution was because doing nothing was no longer an option. And so, and when I say doing nothing, I mean being something larger than yourself. And so I've done what I could from a corporate standpoint. And what I mean by that is I've always made it a priority for me to hire people that look like me. That's always been a major initiative for me because I knew that others didn't have that same agenda as top of mind. So to balance the scale out, so to speak, I made that a major priority as a leader for the Walt Disney Company to hire people that look like me. And, you know, when Keenan introduced this idea to me, it was at that point where I was like, you know what? Let's put on our shoes and let's run. Let's go for it. There's a lot of things that have been going on. There's stuff that's currently going on, and there's more to come that we just can't see right now. So how do we best position ourselves to be leaders on this agenda? And I know that we can't do it alone. And how do we do it? We do it by numbers. And the only way that we're going to be successful is if we identify like-minded people that have that same agenda, that are open-minded, and are looking to do something more for the community outside of themselves. Knowing Keenan, I know that everything that he does, trust and integrity is the foundation of whatever it is. So if he's running towards something, I'm not too far behind him running with him. And that's no matter what the focus is, I'm going to invest all I have into it because I fully believe not only am I committed, but I trust him as a human, that he's open-minded, he's malleable, and he has purpose behind everything that he does. So for me, being a greater part of one institution was easy. It didn't take me much effort or thought. But I do have a relationship with Keenan, so that's what made it so easy for me. I understand that it might not be so easy for others, but for me, it was super simple. It's more than just being part of a number on a Facebook profile. For me, it's about being not only a number, but being part of the action behind what other initiatives are out there.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, Kanan, in 2.5, 3 weeks, we're approaching 5,000 people. When we first talked about this, right, it was just like, let's put it out there, see what happens. There are nearly 5,000 people in this community, a part of this movement. And I think now is the right time to say why one institution and what is one institution. So give the folks some understanding of why and what one institution actually is.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Sean. Thank you, everybody that's joining into this telecast live and who will watch the replay of this telecast in the near and distant future. This has been so far a labor of love in the first nearly 3 weeks of its existence. And so the genesis of One Institution started some time ago, like any other idea, right? In the garage, tinkering with a few phone calls with friends, and really looking out on the landscape, similar to what Sean said, asking yourself, what can you continue to do outside of a day-to-day role with a corporation, or if you're self-employed, and put other people in the same position as you potentially see yourself. And I think for me, Jason and Sean, and everyone who's watching, having children for me has certainly changed and reshaped the balance of my own life. I've been fortunate enough as a maturing adult to have my first child near 40 and my second child 13 months ago, so several years later. And having two young kids, it's been humbling, but it's also been at the same time an eye-opener, because while I've done okay or good enough in my own life, I recognize and understand that my children have peers. My children have to live within an environment that needs to look like the opportunities that they may have access to and the exposure that they may have access to. So I began to labor in my mind and contact a few people about creating a civic enterprise that improves public understanding of social justice movements and makes complex urban community needs doable, makes those complex community needs not only solved for one location and one neighborhood and one environment, but scaled to a place that we can replicate and transfer this playbook across the country, because we understand that urban community needs exist not just in one city, not just in one state, but it's prevalent throughout the entire country. So we promote social awareness, create online engagement through original content, such as this conversation right now, that quickly makes sense of the challenging issues that face Black America. We're looking forward to creating progress and momentum through various channels, but certainly having local initiatives that create health, education, wellness, financial access, and resources that are unavailable to everyone. For me, living in a society, participating in an environment that doesn't offer equity to all of the kids that look like my kids is not a society that I want to belong to. And that's a society that I ultimately want to spend my life fixing.
Awesome, Davis. When we got into this, a lot of things have gone on in the last couple of weeks. We've had a candid conversation last week. We've had multiple people come in there. We have a group of people putting together rules that are up to make sure that people know that we're about respect. We're about moving the needle forward. One of the things I want everyone to know, you've touched on this, Sean, you have posted about this. This train is moving. We're going to move with allies and accomplices. We can't move this by ourselves. And who's ever willing to help with the movement for resources, for education, for opportunities, they're all welcome. Before we go into even deeper to the next pieces, I want to make a real quick public service announcement. So there's a lot of groups on Facebook that talk. And one of the things that I know about my brothers here, we're about action and we want to see things done. So my wife told me about this earlier today. There's another group with over 1 million members talking about pushing Black initiatives and supporting Black and buying Black and all this. A young man, college student, got on there and said, I need help. I'm trying to get some resources for college. That's all the brother said. I'm trying to get some resources for college. They're talking about donating money and supporting Black and doing this, that, and the third. Over 1 million people. This kid, he didn't ask for a GoFundMe. The brother's name is James Hill, and he's watching right now. He didn't ask for GoFundMe. He didn't say cash at me. He said, I have a list from Amazon for the things I need to make my college experience move forward. Of the 1 million plus people in that group, my wife was the only person to reach out. So I said, no, we're going to do better than that. I'm going to post the link to his Amazon list in this group. And of the 4,000 people, it's less than $1,000 worth of merchandise. This is talking about pens, books, T-shirts, socks, Tupperware. If you cannot do it, you don't need to be a part of this movement. That's simple. If we're not about supporting the young people in our communities to move out of a situation and better themselves, they're not asking for a handout. He is asking for a hand up. So I'm going to post his Amazon link in this chat. And almost 5,000 people in here. Like I said, his list is less than $1,000. We need to do our part. So it's going to be in the comments. And from there, we can go on to the next piece of this.
No, thank you.
Talking about the allies. Go ahead, jump in.
Jason, before we even transition, because for those watching live, that's not scripted. I didn't know, Sean didn't know that this conversation was even going to take that twist, right? So thank you for bringing it up and being in the moment, because at the end of the day, our mission is to inform, is to improve, and is to impact all these local communities by providing a platform for citizens, activists, and supporters to engage tangible solutions that drive social mobility for Black America. Tangible solutions that drive social mobility for Black America. So here's a perfect example of our mission, right? That there's an individual, a Black individual, that's looking to expand and further their ability to change the narrative, right? To be more socially and economically mobile. And our platform is primarily created and predicated to inform, improve, and impact individuals just like this. So I couldn't have told you our mission any better than having a real life example to showcase. So thank you, Jason.
I appreciate it. And again, this is not about me. It's about this young man out of Chicago that is trying to better himself, and he's studying political science. He wants to be an elected official in the community where he comes from to change the dial. And yes, I posted earlier also that in the South, it's a 5% chance if you're born into poverty to come out. Right? And in North, it's only a little bit higher percentage. It's less than 10% that you will come out of poverty if you're born into poverty. We're trying to change that dial and giving people opportunities. And it's you'll spend $10, $15 on this Amazon thing that he needs 10 times tomorrow. All right. So if we can't dig deep and help in our communities, what are we here for? Sean, you had something.
Yeah, man, that caught me by surprise. So as you're going through your thoughts, I'm putting my head down because I don't want to believe how you're going to conclude the message. 1 million people, $1,000. So one thing I would like to say before I go into that is I understand, and we all understand, that we're in a very tough economic time right now. So everyone may not have the resources to provide any kind of financial assistance. We get that. You know, even if it's $1, some people are trying to stretch $1. So that's completely understood. However, when you say 1 million people and you can't muster up $1,000 from 1 million people, excuse my language, that's some sad shit. That's sad. And that kind of like did something to me just now. You know, it was like a jab to the gut. And
It did something to me when I heard about it, brother.
You know, and again, it's all about adding value. If you're not adding value, hop off the train and catch the next one. It no hard feelings. It's not difficult. The easiest thing in the world to do is quit. So stop, jump off, and catch the next one. Because what we're about doing is changing people's lives. Period. This brother's gonna have his stuff tomorrow. Even if I have to put all the money up myself,
because we'll split it in half. Like it's not happening. Like and I would love. Again, I want to stick to the script of the conversation, Jason, Sean, and again for everyone that's watching. But a lot of people are joining on. Very few people know me in real life, right? That's how this thing works with virtual, with the internet. Who is this Keenan character? Who is this individual behind one institution? Who are they? What do they want? What are they trying to get from me? Are they fly by night? All these questions, relatively good, fundamentally solid questions. I think I would probably be asking questions similar. So I want to continue to put myself out there. I'm real. I'm probably let my 13-month-old boy walk through this room in a second. So you understand, and my beautiful 4.5-year-old daughter. So you know why I'm doing it. I'm doing it for my kids. I'm doing it for your kids. I'm doing it for our children to have an equitable, an opportunistic, and favorable future. For those of us who've already lived half of our lives, we owe it to the individuals to live the best of the rest of their lives. And so coming together in some capacity, you have to trust somebody. You have to trust something. And the hardest thing I believe for many of us to do is exercise trust. And so I'm not asking personally for you to trust me. I'm asking you to trust yourself. If your gut moves you, as these entities in Hot Springs, Arkansas, Detroit, Michigan, Dallas, Texas, Chicago, Illinois, Atlanta, Georgia, as these satellite programs pop up, and they have a building that they're going to turn into a health clinic. They have a voter registration drive that they're going to launch. If they have a street name that they're going to change, I ask you to trust yourself. Ask yourself if you had a building in the middle of the hood that you had every idea and passion and purpose to turn it into something for that community. Would you want someone to trust you with $1? Would you want someone to trust you with access to their resources that could change your life, your community's life? So I'm not asking you to trust me as the person who's laboring, as the person who's leading one institution. I'm asking you to trust the thousands and tens of thousands of people who belong to one institution, who are just like you, with a hope and with a dream to make life better for the next generation.
Man, Keenan, you know, that kind of transitions us into that next piece, right? That next piece, it talks about the ice is not always colder. How can we support one another, right? We talk about the psychological trauma that impacts us And that's part of why we have the every other Thursday Candid conversation to unpack some of those things, right? But for us to move as a community, we have to understand that who taught us not to trust each other, and we have to move to a place that we take a chance. You know, you say this all the time. Every Monday morning, Black churches deposit $1 billion with a B dollars into white banks, right? I was just reading something about Bank of America. August 2014, Bank of America had to pay $16.65 billion to settle a discrimination suit. 2011, Bank of America reaches a $335 million to settle a case with Black and Hispanic borrowers. But we still send our money, and that you have those things with Fifth Third Bank, at Wells Fargo, at Chase. But we are scared to say, you know what? I'm scared to put my money into a One United, because if I put my money into a One United, what are the Black people going to do with my money? Similarly, this brother was in a group with more than 1 million people that look like us, and one person, and thankfully that one person was my wife, because now he's in our group and he's going to have everything that he needs, right? But Sean, what do you say about the mistrust and how this movement is going to help us trust differently and move differently?
Well, I think the main thing about trust is, you know, in order for people to buy into it, they need to see something tangible as it relates to our people. Now, trust me, any Black person that's opening a bank account with Chase or Wells Fargo or any other financial institution, they're not asking them what are they going to do with their money.
Right.
The FDIC protects your money, just so you know. So no matter what happens, you're good. Just so that everyone's listening, you're good. So don't let that be a fear for you. But in terms of support, I think we need to do 3 very important things. We need to learn, understand, and grow. One thing about me, perspective is probably the foundation of my core. It's who I am. I speak it, live it, and I breathe it every day. I can have a conversation with the most religious person that believes in 10 gods, as well as a conversation with someone that's an atheist that doesn't believe in any. Doesn't mean I'm buying into what they believe in, is that I'm willing to have the conversation and engage with them and open my mind up to whatever the topic is. I'm open to it. You know, and one thing I love about our people is that our people are very opinionated and so creative. Like, I love listening to the banter back and forth. But I think sometimes where we get lost is we get married to our ideologies, we get married to our thoughts and our opinions, and we become closed off to learning more and grasping and understanding. And I think that all ties into trust. If I feel that how I feel is the only way of feeling or thinking or processing information, then by default, you've already lost before you even engage with me, if that's my perspective. Mm-hmm. So we have to be open-minded. You know, we have to be willing to sit down and understand that not everyone that looks like you is out to get you. Not everyone that looks like you, just because you're a stranger, doesn't mean I'm not willing to back you and support you. You know, we talked about, you know, one of the main things for me that's so important in our community is like financial literacy. You know, and just people don't understand. You want to buy Black, you want to support Black, but understand that by supporting Black, you're going to have to pay more because of scale. It's just natural. It's just the nature of economics. And if you don't understand that, then, and you think that a Black person is ripping you off because their price, that's going to break down trust. You have to understand what goes into market share and reach and scale. You know, if someone's selling barbecue sauce for $8, don't think, well, I can just go to the supermarket and get it for $1.99. If you're going to be about that movement, then be about that movement. And that's the price. Unfortunately, that's how the game is rigged. And I think in order for us to get to a place where we really trust, people are going to have to see tangible outcomes so that they feel comfortable now investing in what I define as a very investable asset. There's a lot of people like our people. We have so much leverage as it relates to financial capital, but we don't leverage it the right way. We don't leverage it the right way because there's not enough educators out there educating us on how to effectively do it, how to effectively move the needle. I'll give you a quick example. $1 million in that other place, right? If they all took $10 each and deposited in the Carver Bank, assuming there's a Carver there, right? Carver Bank now has $10 million more in revenue than they did whenever. That significantly moves the needle for our small Black financial institutions. It's immeasurable. Those are the things that we need to start doing to really make a statement and move the needle in the right direction. But if you don't know that, if you don't understand those economics, then you are going to just go day by day thinking the way you're moving is the right way, and it's really not. Everyone can have an impact. This isn't like, oh, my vote doesn't count. We all have the ability to do more with less. You don't have to be a millionaire to make an impact for us. Collectively is where we grow. But if we're not willing to step back and allow ourselves to move forward and allow ourselves to be guided in the right direction, we're going to be stagnant. And trust is always going to be broken down.
Awesome, Sean. It's a good segue, and Keenan, I'm going to pivot to you. When we talk about one institution and some of the things that we're offering and what we're building, this is a movement. So I want you all to know to be on the lookout for daily tips about that education, right? So small tips, but transitioning into classes taught by you, the people who are in this movement that are subject matter experts. So all the knowledge base. So we're going to give you some free information, and the folks that do this every single day, the 4,000 plus of you that are subject matter experts, can provide this information to the whole platform, right? We're also going to be in a situation where we're expanding, so you can find resources for things that are in your different city, like Black business resources, connection to the Chamber of Commerce, connection to your local government officials, city council, school board, because this movement works when we bring all the resources together. So Keenan, please talk to us about what trust in this movement looks like to you and how we can pivot and shift the dial so that not only we can move past the trauma of distrust, but we can grow this movement so we can impact change moving forward.
I think that this conversation was important on different levels. One, it's important because it demonstrates the variation of people who are a part of this movement, right? The conversation that took place last week, it was 3 wonderful Black women, along with you, Jason, that hosted a conversation, a candid conversation about supporting, protecting Black women. And it was a conversation that took the idea and concept of healing, right? Removing some of the trauma. Clearly, with one conversation, one podcast, we don't redirect a historical inflection of pain that's been caused upon our people. However, we do take that one step forward in the right direction in order to start to create a pathway toward progress. The one thing about one institution, the idea, the concept, and the platform is that each day we're taking one step toward Black progress. We're taking one step toward freedom, not just as a collective, but some individuals who unfortunately have still been bound by the public policies, the framework, the infrastructure, and the institution itself that haven't been able to move forward. And if everyone can't move forward, then nobody has moved forward. So the idea that we're able to demonstrate this conversation today and discuss specifically what trust looks like. It's hard for someone in a virtual space that you've never met in your life that gets on a telecast and says, hey, trust the idea that I'm bringing to you. And you're all of a sudden going to go to sleep tonight and say, yeah, one institution, I'm all in. Nobody's naive to believe that. What we're asking you to do is to keep showing up every day. Just show up, log in, log on, and watch the content start to be poignant and oriented towards specific things. See, the difference between Facebook groups and one institution is that we're not here just to have a conversation. We're not here just to have community arguing, community discussions. That's great. But there are tens of thousands of Facebook groups that allow that to take place, and that's what they're for. There is no plan of action. There is no plan of strategy. There is no archive of solutions behind the actual platform itself. However, we have an ancillary website that's specific to our group online. We have an online academy that's ancillary to our group online. We have a daily structure that will be rolled out next week for the next 90 days. For each week, there's a different topic that is educating, implementing strategies that can be executed locally and individually by people who are trying to express and scale progress in the Black community. See, there's a difference between every other Facebook group that is just about the talk and about one institution that is only and exactly about the walk. We're not here to sit here. We're not here in an auditory space only. We're here to operate physically, in person, in your town, in your community, to make real change. So hopefully, if there's anything you take away from this conversation, it's that you have passionate, purpose-driven people behind this movement, people that have been winners in other aspects of life, but that was not good enough. The people who are putting their blood and their sweat and their tears behind this movement, they've seen what a corporate or a small business owner or a political success may look like. And they're here to give all of their time, all of their talent, and their treasure to this particular movement. And so I'm appreciative of each and every one of you that believe in this. I'm appreciative to not just the National Steering Committee, which makes up 16 people, and obviously the 4,000 plus individuals that have pressed the accept button. A lot of people have accepted. They don't know what they're accepting. They think it's another Facebook group. They're like, what's going on with these people? What do you mean you have a plan? We have a problem. So in order to fix the problem, you got to have a plan. In order to execute the plan, you have to have people who buy in to the plan. So I don't expect you to do something without seeing me do it. So One Detroit, let's talk about that, right? One Detroit is we've opened, right? We've been on Facebook, right, in this online environment for I think 18 or 19 days. Today is one of the two, 18 or 19. We started June 19th. So here we are in 18, 19 days, and we're installing a bathroom today. We'll send you pictures and videos tomorrow of a community center that we own, and that community center is going to serve as it's a One Detroit Resource Center. It's going to be a health clinic. It's going to be a technology center with a library, and it's going to have an outdoor sports all-inclusive environment that allows for multi-court use, whether it's basketball, volleyball, potentially tennis, and some other sports activities. So we've done that. We've been able to put that in motion in place real quick in real time. And I challenge people, if you know of another group that's online in a virtual space that can offer up an entire building, that can offer up three key components to a community's need in the first 19 days of operation, I want to talk to that group right now, because that means we're doing the same thing at the same speed, and we can really scale this thing if we partner up and do it together. So if you know somebody, an entity that's moving at that warp speed with that kind of dedication, those kind of resources, I want to know who they are right now. We are not online to argue. We are not online to be political. We are online to aggregate people, resources to create solutions for Black people. Period. Dot. By any means necessary. That means non-Black people. That means Black people. That means any other colored people that are willing to help extend and increase and improve Black progress. They are welcome. They are needed. And we are ready to go.
Hey, that was definitely a mouthful, and I appreciate that, brother. You know, part of it is when we go back to the trust, right? So we talked about the young man that needed support. In 19 days, we have started a movement, put into place an opportunity for resources for that community. And this is a scalable thing. But what does it need for our community, our movement, to support that? The building's free and clear. It's there. Like, let's get that part right. The building is free and clear. It's now the inside parts to make the building move, right? So the One Detroit Resource Center and the people behind that put up a GoFundMe account. $20,000. $20,000 for this group. We knocked that out in $5 a piece, right? If I'm looking at some simple math, $5. And we can rinse and repeat from community. That's what the movement looks like. That's what support looks like. You know, we're a movement that will provide resources, educate the folks that are in this to be better. I posted in the group earlier, how many people are ready to learn how to fish? And that fish being the metaphor of as a people, too often we sit and wait for someone to give us that fish so we can eat. We're a movement about making sure that people have the tools that they can eat for a lifetime, making sure their legacies grow, making sure that we're not in a situation like that we're 100% dependent on other groups. So if this is the movement that you want to be a part of, put your time, your talent, and your resources where your mouth is. All right, this is not a movement just of keystrokes. We're going to support one another. We're going to respect one another. We're going to learn from one another. We're not going to be out here to intentionally hurt one another. Like, this is not the movement for you. If you want to go into another group that just pops in memes and sexual innuendo, hey, there's a million other groups on Facebook for that. If you want to be about some real action, some real change, this is where the change is going to happen. We have an opportunity to change our communities like never seen before. Like it just amazes me, brothers, to see what has happened in less than 3 weeks. In less than 3 weeks.
It's a beautiful thing to see, right? And I think that's why, you know, Sean, Jason, and I can name the countless others that are truly giving this every ounce of their time. I mean, I'm watching, you know, the messaging back and forth from the steering committee. I'm watching the banter back and forth from the community in itself. And it's given me life that I now know how this process can end. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to work ourselves out of a job. We're trying to work ourselves out of our purpose. Like, if our purpose is to create progress for Black people, the goal is to not do this at 85 years old. The goal is to solve it sooner than later, right? But the only way we solve it is with community buy-in. The only way we solve it is by working together and trusting one another. I understand, listen, asking somebody to give you $1 when that may be $1 they use to upsize, supersize a meal at Wendy's or Burger King or anywhere else, right? Me counting someone else's dollar is not something I'm ever going to do. What I'm saying is to say that you did find a way to put forth $1 toward anything, whether it was in your city, your town, whether you knew the person or not. The idea of you finding out within yourself what you need to do to trust somebody, something with my dollar, other than anything else, that's something we want to work through together. Because I have the same trust issues to an extent. I do, right? And I think my trust issues may be, they may come in a different form, but I understand the trust issues. I'm from the urban environment. And so I realize, more importantly, what we need to do in the urban environment. I said this earlier, and I'll say it publicly. The challenges that we have in the urban environment are more than we can count. I do not believe that one thing that we do specifically will solve the problems inside of the urban environment. Not one specific thing. I believe we have to find solutions more than the problem. If we identify 10 problems, we need to identify 11 solutions. Tie goes to the runner is the problem. So I believe with all the brilliant minds that we have, all of the passionate supporters that we've come to know so far, if we can identify the problems, which most of us have done and will continue to do, and we can trust each other with providing a solution to our individual community problem. And if you have 10,000 people who decide once a week to give $1 to somebody's problem, that's 4 problems a month that get $10,000 each. Will it solve it? We don't know completely, but will it change the dynamics in those communities? Absolutely. Because when we're not doing anything, nothing changes. That's the thing. When you don't trust anything, when you don't trust something, then nothing will ever get done. So all of us who have these trust issues with helping something and someone, just understand that as long as we have those trust issues, rightfully so, nothing will ever get done. So I hope and I believe that the future of our communities, right, the providence of our Black society does not rest solely on our ability to find trust in each other, because that providence will fall short and the balance of our Black society will never reach its scale. And that's one of the things that drives me personally to give you every single thing that I have, every single day of my existence, is to ensure that we tip the scales, to ensure that we change the outcome, to ensure that we reverse the narrative and create a society that's equitable and balanced and fair for all people, specifically for Black people.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So Sean.
Yeah, so Keenan had like 2 mic drop moments like in a row. That was his second mic drop. But just real quick. So there's three important words I'm going to just say out that are super important as we go through this movement, right? One is stamina, one is endurance, and the other one you heard is perspective. As it relates to perspective, we have to change the me to we. And so we cannot look at, all right, well, I live in New York. What does Detroit have to do with me? Nothing. But I understand the movement. I understand that there are people there that their infrastructure is all twisted. And the need there is significant. The need there, we have people in place that are actually doing right now. So it's not about me, it's about we. And if I can help we, then I'm in a much better position personally. As it relates to stamina and endurance, like we didn't get here overnight, right? This just didn't happen. So just like it just didn't happen, we're not going to solve it just like that. It's going to take time. There are going to be some frustrations along the way. I mean, a lot of people out of these 4,000 plus people, I'm sure there are a lot of people that work out. You went to the gym all week. You didn't see any improvements. You didn't stop going. You kept going. And as you continue to go more and more, then you start to see things develop. Same process works here. It's going to take some time. Put on your shoes, build up your stamina, build up your endurance, open your mind, and just watch things happen. Again, 19 days in, or 18. I'm going to go with 19. 19 days in, and we are already making huge strides. Probably a bit, a bit aggressive, if you ask me. But we are trying to be as aggressive as we possibly can in certain cases, in certain places. So just be patient with this process. Also, just want to add that if you don't feel like putting your business out in the street, okay, there are moderators. There's myself, there's Keenan, Jason, and 14, 15 other people. If you have an issue and you don't want to put it on blast, send it to us. We can work behind the scenes so that if it's an issue that we can deal with and put something out there anonymously to benefit you, that'll get done. Don't feel like you have to post something and put your business out on the street. I mean, the young kid was courageous. I applaud him for that. Mm-hmm. But not everyone has that courage. And so if you're lacking that courage or just feel uncomfortable, send a message to any one of us, and we'll make sure that it gets into the right hands, and we'll make sure that the right amount of attention is given to it.
Thank you.
Awesome. So, one of the things that we want from you, this movement is not about us, it's not about the moderators and folks that are engaged in this process, right? We want for you, the people in the One Institution movement, to talk about what you want to see. We talked about there are going to be, weekly short classes on things that can help you move the dial. We talked about the business directory that will be on the One Institution website. We talked about connecting to resources, but what are some of the things that you want to see? Type them in the comments, type them later on. Keenan, some of the things that you may have heard from people that they want to see, talk about some of those things that we will have in this movement moving forward.
So obviously with COVID-19, the first time I mentioned it today, certainly it's relevant, very relevant, and permeates through a lot of our particular households, and indirectly or directly. And so, having the idea of education and what that may look like for some people. Some of us don't have the opportunity for preschool, so there's a stay-at-home component. Some of us don't have the confidence or the health infrastructure to send our kids to school potentially in the fall and take that risk. So we have numerous educators who have reached out that are skilled with homeschool, whether it be pre-K, or we've also have educators that are skilled, obviously, through secondary and primary school. So we're putting together a an aggregate assessment of information that allows for families who are worrying and start to be, they're concerned about schooling in the next month and a half. 6 weeks is not far away. And so the education component is extremely, extremely near and dear to many of us. And that's something we'll be rolling out in the next couple of weeks. And in addition to that, really starting the voter registration process. Again, the same way that, late August, early September is pretty close. November is not far away either, right? So education and the political participation process are two key components in which we will thrive. We have too many people that we have access to that are savants in the areas of, political action committees, in the areas of obviously voter registration and education on so many different levels. So those two things have been conversation pieces that we've been that have been brandished across our desk early on in the first 2.5 weeks. Those are two things that we want to tackle immediately, along with nonprofit formation. So you have these communities that are looking to create a one Atlanta, one Detroit, one et cetera, right? How do you do it? What is the steps? We have a 10-step plan we're laying out. We're going to have a week series on nonprofit development. We have some outstanding attorneys who in our, not only in the membership group, but also in the leadership group that will be able to lend pro bono information, conceptual ideas and implementation of how to walk through the steps of nonprofit formation quickly and efficiently. So those three things: nonprofit formation, education resources for homeschooling, voter registration for the big vote in the fall, in November.
So awesome. One of the biggest things I want to say that to add to that voters registration piece right now, one of the things, this is a tip, came off the dome real quick when you said that. One of the things that everyone can do in this group, every week, every other week, every month, you have either a city council meeting, a county commission meeting, a school board meeting. At the very least, download the agenda to find out what's going on in your community. Don't just focus on national elections. Everything starts on the local level. So when you know what's going on, you can't be blindsided to say, oh, this just happened, right? Right here in Georgia, many people were blindsided because they passed the hate crime bill in Georgia. But right behind that, it wasn't publicized. It was a bill that said that the police can sue you if you file a false claim or a claim that comes invalidated against them. So the officer can sue you if you say that something happened that you can't prove. So if you're not paying attention to what goes on, you're doomed to be food on the table, not sitting at the table. You're doomed to be food on the table. So I implore you, just go online to look at your local county commission, your city council, your school board, and if your state is still in session, look at what's going on, what bills are coming out of the House and the Senate for your state to make sure you're aware. And if something doesn't look right, at the very least, shoot a few emails. Hey, talk to me about this. This makes no sense why you're doing that. So, Sean, talk to us about some of the things that you have heard or would like to see come through the One Institution movement.
Yeah, so I mentioned this earlier, but I'm a huge fan of financial literacy. I think that if you're going to play any game, sometimes you have to outsmart someone at their game. And so when you look at how, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? So how do people become financially successful? They're probably digging in their backyard. They got some oil somewhere. They probably inherited money from someone's death, or they may have made some money in the stock market. The stock market is something that's accessible to all of us. You don't need $1 million. You can have as little as $200. I have a friend that literally made over $100,000 in 6 months with investing $500. And if I didn't know him, I would call someone probably a liar. But this is a factual, true story. What's the difference between him doing it or you doing it? It's knowledge. That's all it is. It's information. So I think understanding the complexities of the stock market, what goes into it, how to do it, because it's a very, very dangerous game to play. I'll be the first one to tell you that. I've been playing in the stock market for well over 15 years now. And, I'm someone that's open and willing to share whatever knowledge I have to anyone that's listening to this, anyone that's watching this. Shoot me a message. It doesn't matter how, what is the stock market, or can you explain a PE ratio or volume or momentum? Doesn't matter how grand or small the question is. Learn from trust me, I got busted in the head plenty of times back when I first started. But let my pain be your gain. You don't have to go through all the pitfalls again. They've already been done. You have we got some super thugs in this group. Now, when I say thugs, I mean like good, smart, knowledgeable, eloquent people in this group. Whatever you need, there's someone there to satisfy that. But for me, I think if we can move from understanding or having a lack of economic understanding, having a lack of understanding how money moves, if we can capture that's a game changer. You can change the complexity of your life tomorrow, literally, if we can understand all that goes into that space.
Well, I think, Sean, as we wrap this up, because we want to stay under 60 minutes, and I know we're right at 57. So you did a great job, Jason, today with really keeping us on task, on time, on target. The one thing that, Sean, you thought you had a verbal mishap by saying super thugs, the hate you give. I think, but I like the spin on it in terms of the heart you give, right? We do have super thugs in this group because the heart you give is what we are asking from each and every person, is to have a heart for yourself, have a heart for your community, have a heart for your people. The future of our community rests on this particular generation. The outcomes that we seek will only happen if we create. Be the change that you seek to happen. Trust the process that's been put in front of you and watch the fruits of all of our labor bring equity and justice to the shores that they should have always flowed. We can continue to have the conversation of what happened. I'm a doctorate in public policy, not throwing that around, but I understand at the highest level of every BS law and policy that has been instated and sustained and magnified for the Black community. Today is a new day. July is a new season. And our time is right now. So together, let's find a way, figure it out, do something that's difficult for all of us, trust each other, build our communities, restore our royalty.
Well, fellas, I appreciate you. I think the community appreciates you because, one, it was just a look into one institution, why people are actually here, right? Because a lot of people just said, I want to be connected. And as we move the dial and as we grow, there's going to be more questions and more thoughts and more conversations. But to kind of put this framework out there, we're here for you, this one institution community. I appreciate you guys getting on at the very last minute. We were on a call today and I was like, man, let's not talk about it. Let's be about it. So this is the Candid Conversations bonus edition. I asked all of you that are watching or that watch the replay to make sure you post some of the things that you want to see, some of the topics you want us to discuss, not only in the Candid Conversations, but on those educational series. Like Keenan said before, we're launching our opportunity for the subject matter experts in here to teach on their subject, not just on the excerpts of the education series. So let us know what you want to hear, the things that you need, so we can provide it for you. This movement is a resource for our communities to grow. And if we don't use this resource, we're wasting our time. We're just another group on Facebook. And this movement is definitely not just another group. All right, we reached our time. We love you. This is Candid Conversations, the bonus edition. One institution. We out.